So hello, KAA family. We're here again, and today I am interviewing Dahn Thomas. She used to be the Health Services Director. I met her last year, and she was coming to help us out before camp started, and she was such a pleasure, such a big help. And today we're going to hear from her. So Dahn, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your hobbies are, all that good stuff.
Well, I was born and raised in Indianapolis, which is where I currently reside. I am the oldest of three. And let's see, what else? I am currently working at one of our suburban hospitals in the operating room. This is my first year doing that. My background is pediatrics. A tiny bit of emergency medicine, like piggyback onto the peds. But yeah, and then some wilderness stuff that I learned being out of camp.
Some wilderness stuff she learned at camp. Oh, hey, everything I hear about you is fabulous. Dahn Thomas, she's so good. And when I met you, you were, because you had to do a little nursing at that staff training week. We had so many sick last summer. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. But so what things do you like to do? What are some of your hobbies?
I love to be outdoors, which is one of the reasons why I jumped on the opportunity to work at camp. So anything outdoors, I do a lot of things, but nothing well. So I like to ski. I like to bike. I like to hike. I do like some water sports, but the water, I have to be able to see through the water.
I get it.
Try a few things, but I love to be out on the boat. Yeah, I love hanging out with family, and I really love community. I love friendship and cultivating friendships. So being like one-on-one. So those are the biggest things that.
Yeah, well, that is really good. Well, tell us how you got involved with KAA.
Man, when I was looking over the questions, it took me back. So I started going to a church that had an inner city ministry. And so I did like an after school reading program with them. And then from there, developed relationship with the kids, with the parents. And so from that grew like small Bible studies. And then we also did, they had a dance group. So it was just like whatever the kids felt like they needed, we kind of, embarked on those things. And so we started bringing the kids to camp. And that actually was about 2001, I want to say. Okay. So I brought kids from Indianapolis for 2 years. And then I wasn't involved for like 2 years after that because the kids they were doing other things during the summer instead of going to camp. And so we stopped taking kids. And so I'm like, how can I get back to camp? Like I had to figure that out. And it's so funny because I didn't even know they had like a health center or a nursing program, any of that, the 2 years I was there.
Wow.
So I had a friend who I went to church with who actually was on leadership at camp. Okay. So I was talking to her about it and she was like, they have nurses. And I was like, they do? So funny. Like I never knew that.
Yeah. So that meant you brought healthy kids to camp who didn't get sick.
Yeah, right. And so we just went through the process. She put me in touch with, at the time, it was Lori Tugwell. So got in touch with her, did that for 2 summers. And then after my second summer, Lori was transitioning. So she reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in taking over her job. So, yep.
That is great. And
yeah.
So how many years did you serve in that position as health services director?
So 2 years as a Kaleo, 2 years as a nurse, and then I did 4 years as health services director. But I have been consecutively coming to camp since 2006, if you want to do consecutive years.
Yes.
So needless to say, I was sad about not being able to come.
I know. I want you to give me an idea of, tell me what was challenging for you? What was something that was challenging for you and something that was a joy for you during your years of being there as a nurse or as a health services director? And also even with that, because you have a different perspective, how are those two different? Just serving as a nurse and serving as a health services director.
Well, as a nurse, like, you just do your thing. You take orders from the person in charge. And so, I just do what I'm told and breeze through the day. So and I never did know the flip side of it, of course, until I was in that position. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. And the only, I won't necessarily say setback, but the only thing I wish we could do more of is, and I know like the leaders are in place for that, but like you feel like you have these kind of aha moments with some of the kids as they come through the health center, and you want to see the results of that. So that's always hard. Like you pour into these kids as you're nursing them, and just not being able to see the fruit of that, or to see some of those home situations changed. So that was tough, but for the most part, as a nurse, I was just like breezing through, enjoying life, like just loving being a camp. And then on the administrative side of it, the most challenging part was like session to session, you really didn't always know like who you had coming in as far as staff. And so that transition, like I would say by day 3, they're starting to get the hang of it. And then day 7, they got it, but it's time for them to go and time for you to transition another group in. So that was like one of the hardest parts, but also a good part, because you just get to learn people. You get to learn how to deal with people, how people deal with stress, how people deal with other people in like close quarters. So all of those things, were good in and of themselves, but challenging as well. And I would always say, and I still do describe camp as the best job I've ever had, but the hardest job I've ever had. So yeah.
That's good. In my first summer as health services director, I can agree with that. I was always just a helper, and but I tell everybody, I said, I worked like a dog, but I loved it.
Yeah. And at the end of the week, when we all, as directors, I don't know what they're doing now, but when we all would be able to sit down and talk about the highs and the lows of the week and hear like some of the highs, and then you come away with like, okay, I can do this again because that's what I did it for. So yeah.
They still had that meeting. They had it on Sundays though, I think. But yeah. So So the joys were just the ability to be used of the Lord as you're there. People.
And I love it. Like so many of my, like, it's so weird. I have like relationships with my coworkers here, but I have lasting relationships with the folks from camp. And so we, like on a weekly basis, there are at least 3 people that I am like, talking to. So we've become like really, really good friends. And so that's cool.
That is cool. And I've made lifelong friends as a Kaleo. And then now in this position, I'm meeting all these wonderful ladies, and I'm like, wow, this is great. And so it is a joy. And I think it's just the kindred spirit of what they're doing.
We all have differences. We all have like whatever situations, but at the end of the day, we're all kingdom minded. And so that does my heart good.
So tell me just a little bit about what you feel like your years of being at KAA. What's something that you feel like the Lord just really did in your heart to leave us with, something that you would say, this is what I feel like the Lord did in my heart, or how he used me in a great way. I was at KAA.
Camp, I know that it gave me a platform to share. And not only like serving in the health center, but seeing like teenagers on fire. And so I'm like, okay, they're not gonna leave me behind. Like you're supposed to be the one showing them, but there were so many opportunities where I had to learn from them. Mm-hmm. And so just, I would encourage people just to go in with an open mind and just be receptive, because I think as older Christians, sometimes we get stuck in our ways and this is the way you do it, but just be open to what the youth are doing, are saying, because they don't have to do it the same way we do it to get the point across. So we can reach people they can't necessarily reach, and they can reach people we can't necessarily reach. So if we all like grip arms, we can do it. We can do it all together. Yeah.
That's a good word. That's a very good word. Yeah. Well, Dahn, I tell you, you have been so valuable, and
thank you.
Over and over. And when I met you last year, helping, you know, there's so much I learned from you trying to get that medicine together in the health center. And so KAA thanks you for your service that you've done and you continue to do, and for your prayers. I know you're praying for us, girlfriend, and so we appreciate that so much.
Yes, my pleasure, for sure.